All right, you all, we are here for the first of hopefully many live comms for some really high stakes DCL matches. And these take, multiple generations. There's Gen 9, there's Gen 8, there's Gen 7, there's Gen 6, and there's even VGC. So we'll see what we get to cover. But this is going to be a really nice, really classic Gen 9 game between AgencyIsOwn, who's on my team, the Cobal, and Nozzermat, who is on Trick of Eye. And these are two players who are new to DCL, so it's really exciting. But I'm not alone. I am joined by a longtime friend, back towards COVID lockdown, Discord gremlin age type shit. My good pal Vini. What's up?
Yes, exactly. Hello. I'm just excited to watch this game. Excited to get the season started. And I do think this is a really good match for that because, like you said, we have two new players. Both these guys did well in seasonal.
Yeah.
And they've had really promising performances elsewhere as well, so it's definitely a nice start to the season.
Definitely two people who have built up a bit of reputation recently as just being really good SV players and have kind of seemingly come out of nowhere, but have rightfully been picked up as really nice, options.
And this is the first tour, I think, for both, first major tour for both of them, so one of them's gonna have to start out on a win and one on a loss, but I think both of them could definitely do quite well this season, even if they were to lose here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I obviously have a bit of hope that Agency wins because it's going to put our team up 1-0, but I know you are very close to Nozzermat. I don't know if y'all originated kind of in the same area.
Fan. Yeah. Some insight into him. So Nozzermat started in DGBA last season, and he was in the bottom division. We scouted him through replays, and he brought some interesting stuff to the league. He was Tera Gothatel, Terapagos, Arcaladon Rain guy, and I know he used that in seasonal as well, and he farmed both of those places with them. And now he's using some completely different stuff, so I'm excited to see him in the tour.
Yeah, I know he's been cooking the seasonal with Tera Gothatel, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, they linked the game now since started.
Oh, we got a link to the game.
We did talk about this, so the Girder did show up.
The Girder showed up. Wow.
They benched Blastoise and G-King from Nozzermat's side, and a Mach and Farigiraf bench from Agency's side.
Benched the two sort of low tiers, and then
the other side
on Agency's side, whereas the other side brought their low tiers, so it's going to be really interesting.
And then, Tera typing wise, it's Ghost Rotom, Ghost Gambit, Darkrai not Dark Captain. It's Ghost Raging Bolts.
So literally everything is Tera Ghost. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Them changing their Tera types always gets me. I'm like, yeah. It's important to note that it's not a Tera Ogrepon.
Yeah, no, and that was something that was really interesting during the drafting process. It's usually when people pick up Teal Ogrepon, they get the Tera version. But we thought
I think it works on this team.
We thought it looked really
solid
good.
Solid tier, good util.
Yeah. Agreed.
So they bleed both of the Tera captains.
This is so interesting because you have essentially two Tera Ghostmons that are terrified to Tera Ghost against each other.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I mean, this definitely favors the Raging Bolt, I would say, because it can kind of just drop a Thunderbolt if it wants, although that kind of invites Gliscor a little bit, but Noz is the one who's pressured to switch here for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. Unless this is AV and it wants to stay unterra'd. But one thing that's interesting about Tera Ghost is that it... Ooh, oh my god! Oh my god!
Draco.
Oh
yeah,
my god!
Calling out the Gliscor at one-shots the Rotom.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, it's a good analysis that that King Gambit was threatened out there because obviously T-Bolt would have done a lot. And if you look at Nozzermat's team, even though he has Girder, Darkrai is still such a threat. So Tera Ghosting would be even scarier in terms of taking out Darkrai.
Nozzer does have a few options of what to go into here. I think he could go Gliscor, but that's probably slow. Maybe Meowscarada if he wants to try and force more progress. But that's also just invites Tinkaton, Screamtail, but that also invites Tinkaton, so he's already in kind of a bad spot here, and he lost one of his best breakers, for this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. It's one of those interesting things where, I don't necessarily know what the optimal move is. Gliscor probably takes hits quite well now, because it probably comes to Spadef this matchup for things like Landorus and even things like Darkrai. But it can't put on immediate pressure because of Tera Ghost. Maybe it can force a switch and get up spikes, but that's not gonna
Yeah, I think it would be trying to force a switch here and get its Toxic Orb up, but there's also the Landorus on the other side that can kind of get in.
Yeah.
Or we just go hard Quackable. It's SD, so okay. SD Gliscor.
SD Gliscor. It's pretty crazy.
That looks pretty decent here. It's just it will be kind of threatened on the revenge if Agency decides to let Quack go here, but I would expect probably a switch into the Landorus from here.
Yeah.
And if the Gliscor has a flying move, it's gonna click it here, but otherwise it's gonna probably Earthquake. Maybe Facade if he's trying to do a mid ground.
I think that's what's a tricky situation for Agency here, because if the Gliscor is just like Earthquake Ice Fang, which hypothetically does hit Agency's entire draft, then staying in with Quackable and getting a hit off could be optimal. But if Nozzermat's tacked on like a flying type move for this exact situation, I'm not really sure what would come in after Quackable dies here. So it's an interesting situation.
I think, okay, that Quackable ate that. That is, Gliscor also is definitely very fat. I do think staying in with Quack was definitely a fine play there. The Quackable, honestly, doesn't do a ton here, so I think it was definitely better than giving Chip to Lando.
Yeah.
Which, with the Gliscor gone, can kind of just free click.
Awkwardly, I think Quackable was quite nice for things like the Blastoise, which didn't come, in terms of just like taking water type hits. So it's a bit more expendable here for sure.
Yeah, and he goes Darkrai, which is expected, because it can scare it out with an Ice Beam. And I assume this is what the Girder is for. Yeah,
agreed.
Which
I'd be curious
Girder
how much
does
it
actually
takes, though. Like, is Girder that bulky?
It's decently bulky. I mean, if the Darkrai has Psychic for it, then I don't think it's gonna last too long. But I think if it's just hitting it with Ice Beams, then Girder will be chilling. Yeah. I think we were talking about the Girder actually has a decent matchup here with like Drain Punch. It could have Horsepower because there was a Muck on the bench, and probably Ice Punch. Well, definitely Ice Punch for the Lando. So Girder can be a threat here. There is a world where the Screamtail is also the swap, but we will see.
I think surely if Girder comes, it has to be for the
so Girder in and the Ogerpon doubles on it.
The Darkrai, that's a good double ultimately. Like, I think Ice Punch is real, so I'm not sure like how much Ogerpon can truly threaten here.
I think Ogerpon's probably fine to stand on this to get the spike up. Oh, a freeze. Oh.
Ooh. That's pretty
rough.
rough.
A little unfortunate.
Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Especially since Girder might be able to even have Defog, like, just between, like, Drain Punch,
I think
Ice
that this
Punch,
does
Defog?
kill.
Like, maybe.
If it defogs and it wakes up with the Defiant, that'd be pretty funny, I can't lie. But...
that would be really funny.
Or unfreezes with the Defiant.
Yeah. It is interesting, too, like, was the spike important for Ogerpon to set up? Like, so much so that it was worth taking, 57% from Ice Punch and risking the freeze? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I think he might have not wanted to give like Chip on a Tinkaton, but I think it could have potentially been a Tinkaton angle. So now he drops the CC. This Quackable is actually quite bulky. I assume we're going to see a Mach Punch come out here.
Mach Punch is like definitely very obvious here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
So that freeze definitely killed a lot of Agency's momentum. I was going to say before that he was kind of running this early game, and now this Girder has kind of turned it back and taken him on, plus froze the Ogerpon, only in exchange for a spike.
And I think the bigger thing with this Girder is that there is a clear lack of just Mon in general on Agency's team that can threaten this back, with the exception of Raging Bull right now.
Yeah, it's struggled to revenge, but I figured that the Ghost Raging Bolt was going to come out here. Now, it might not have to pop the Tera, because it can kind of just scare the Girder out anyways, which likely doesn't have knockoff here, so it's scared out.
The scary thing about popping the Tera is that if King Gambit does come in, though, all of a sudden, like, King Gambit...
I don't think he's going to pop the Tera,
Okay.
I think likely we're going to see Screamtail come in here over Gliscor.
That would be so interesting, though, if Screamtail came in and risked that Tera Ghost Tera Blast.
Maybe, yeah, that is true. Yeah. But I think the Raging Bolt ideally does not want a Tera Ghost because it just lets it get revenge. So
it's one of those.
I think he might be scared of a Draco drop here.
100%. It's one of those tricky situations where you're simultaneously like pretty aware that it's probably not going to Tera, but the like small threat that it might means that, you know, probably going Screamtail might not be the best option.
Yeah, it's the game with Raging Bull. You always have to play around its stabs because it's going to blow something up if you don't get it right.
The other thing that's super fascinating about Screamtail in this matchup that might mean it doesn't come in here is it doesn't actually...
It goes Gambit, okay.
Gambit comes in.
This might be AV, like you said.
Draco. That's not AV at all. Holy shit.
But he goes Gambit.
Thing I was going to say was that Screamtail could actually be offensive here in terms of booster speed.
Yeah, I was thinking booster speed Gleam Fire Blast could actually be a bring here.
Yeah.
Because he does struggle to revenge the Darkrai a little bit.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's either that or Scarf Masquerada, I think, because otherwise I'm not sure.
It,
Unless it's all in on Girder as the Darkrai check.
yeah, maybe. I mean, right now I'm looking at this, and I feel like it does come down to Girder because there's still a full Tinkaton for Screamtail and Meow.
Yeah, that's right.
But now Gambit is forcing Tinkaton in, which is pretty good.
TOA is pretty, pretty evil because, you know, Ironhead's probably coming off here as well.
Yeah, this might be a Rocks Gambit, the way that he's playing it. Which I will say is a little bit unfortunate because I think the Gambit, the later this game was going, it was looking a lot better. But
do Rocks in particular get Nozzermat anywhere though? Like, I guess it gets a little bit of chip on things, but like
he just gets he gets 12 on everything when it comes in besides Tink. But I was just thinking this might be a more util focused set because right now we haven't seen it. We've seen the one spike come out, but I think it's just mostly that Nozzermat's kind of struggling to chip the team down.
Yeah.
Agency's team is still very healthy, while Nozzer's taken a good amount of chip on a few mons, mostly the Gambit, but a bit on Gliscor too.
Yeah. It's a bit tricky though. I'm really looking at this and wondering how the fuck this Girder is going to get broken down.
It definitely agree with that.
I don't know the answer.
So he goes Bolt, which I think, so Tera's Ghost and he Tera Blasts. Okay. Get some chip on Bolt. But now Bolt is in here and it's threatening a kill.
Yes. Right, Draco exists. If Screamtail comes in, obviously Tera Ghost exists. So
could be scared of Encore if that's what happens.
That's true. Yeah. But if it is offensive Screamtail, like we said, then it probably doesn't have room for Encore.
think there's a world where Nozzermat might just stay in and click Sucker because Bolt is 100% attacking with either stab, and he might just take the chip.
I mean, I imagine getting chip low key like probably puts in range of like a bunch of different shit. Like
yeah, but it makes it way more revengeable. Like even from Gliscor, if it Terras, probably it would be in revenge range.
Yeah.
Or any like Meow move. Yeah.
I would definitely
maybe even Scream.
Oh.
So he just stays in and lets it take the Draco instead.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think he's definitely getting very scared of this Raging Bolt and not wanting to give up like the setup Gliscor or potentially the Screamtail.
I suppose the other reason to not Sucker Punch is the potential of Calm Mind there, but
I think that would have been a really risky click to Calm Mind on.
Yeah, I think that would have been nuts.
That's also fair. I do think that Agency's been getting a lot of progress here with these like good switches that he's been getting in his Bolt a lot.
Yeah, in spite of the freeze, I feel like definitely been doing.
Okay, now he goes hard Darkrai, pulling out the SD. But it doesn't take that much anyway, so I think that's fine. It's putting it closer to Mach Punch range, though, so it's a little scary.
I imagine Girder comes in here, surely.
But yeah, Agency's been using these aggressive switches quite well. And I do want to point out as well, like, he's, of the Mons alive, he's only clicked Draco and Spikes, and whereas he's getting a lot of info on Nozzer's paste every time. Whereas he hasn't revealed much. Okay, 20 is a lot for Girder to take from the Dark Pulse.
Yes. That probably either reveals Scarf Darkrai or, like, not EV like Girder. I imagine one is more likely
I think
than
it's,
the other.
I think it's Specs Darkrai, I would guess. Because I would hope that the Girder is Spadef into a Darkrai.
One would think that that's what it would be.
Especially because it's also not bad for some of the other ones on this team, too.
I think this is a great hit for Agency, though, to take, even though it didn't do very much. Like, this is slowly putting it in range of, like, Earth Power from Lando, or even, like, Draco from Raging Bolt.
I imagine we'll see an Ogre Ponsac here just because he doesn't want to give Tink Chip and he doesn't want to risk going Landorus either on an Ice Punch.
And I imagine...
Yeah, so we do see Ogre Pon.
Yeah, I imagine...
and it's on the Ice Punch.
Since it revealed CC, you can also pretty safely say this probably isn't Bulk Up. I would say that's like...
Yeah, I don't think it... Especially because I assume it's Ground move last if it wanted to cover Muck. Or it's like... And maybe an out there defog, but yeah. I think at this point it's probably not that.
So do you think Draco's the better move here, or do you think Tera Blast is the better move here?
I think definitely committing to Tera would make sense here now, and just Tera Blasting because there isn't a switch in now as easily, and also the Gambit's gone. So I do think the Raging Bolt can free click, and I don't think it wants to drop its stats either now. Yeah. Because that can give Gliscor another free in, and at this point the Gliscor is getting a little bit scarier.
The Gliscor is getting very scary because Lando can't really touch it, and then, you know, I guess Gliscor can lock into Ice Beam at a certain point if it has Ice Beam. And I imagine, like, Tinkaton can't really touch it either unless it has, like, Doesn't Tinkaton get Ice Hammer? Isn't that a thing?
It does get Ice Hammer, but yeah, I imagine Tinkaton's probably pressed for moves here to check all the other ones. So he does Tera Blast, Tera Ghost, and
Ice Punch.
We see an Ice Punch click, crit, no freeze this time. I was
my heart. I was like, wait a minute.
That is a decent. That could be a decently big crit because that could put it into range of a Gliscor Earthquake.
Yeah. That is
but I imagine we might see Meowscarada come out here.
If Meowscarada comes out,
I don't think that would be in Screamtail range.
If Meowscarada comes out, doesn't that mean that Tinkaton can come in quite easily, though? Like, I feel like there's nothing Meowscarada can do to really threaten Tinkaton.
Yeah, it really can't. So it kind of turns into a bit of a game of whether he'll U-turn or if he'll just knock and take the guaranteed kill if he stays in. But I think that the Bolt is still, especially if it eats an Earthquake from this range, it's still a decent preserve if he wants to go Tinkaton. Because worst case, he U-turns and he gets in Gliscor, which I guess is not great.
I mean, also as well, like, unless the Screamtail gets off a Calm Mind somehow, like, it probably still lives a hit from Screamtail, too.
Okay, so we see Flower Trick come out.
21.
21.
I don't know if that tells us very much.
Yeah, I don't think that's Bandit. But I could be wrong.
I imagine if it is Ice Hammer, we see it here.
I think it might just be Scarf Meow and he's wanting to lock into Flower Trick and just get chipped.
If that's the case, like, that's going to be really scary. Because Tinkaton, like, if Tinkaton gets chipped, then Scarf Flower Trick should just...
Yeah, and now the Darkrai is more in range, and depending what the Landorus has, it might not be able to kill it in one. So he's just staying in and going for the Flower Trick. Yeah, that's definitely... It seems to be Scarf, the way he's playing it.
Yeah, that's scary as hell.
I don't know how much I like that stay in. Now he switches out and runs away. Gets a Gigaton off. Gliscor eats that.
Not overly keen on...
But yeah, he just got some extra chip on Tinkaton without getting punished, and that's definitely not great.
No, it's not good at all, because, like, I mean, even, like, Triple Axle, right? Like, if Tinkaton gets chipped enough, like, Triple Axle would Scarf.
Yeah, then Axle is really scary. It can just kill this whole team, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's spooky as hell.
I think we might see Agency go Darkrai here again, because I don't think he wants to give Lando chip, is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And he gets to threaten an Ice Beam with Darkrai.
I imagine the thing also is, like, you might really want... You can't really go Lando, because there's not really much to do.
You can't risk. And Lando also can't kill it back if it just SDs.
Yeah, agreed. I think you're right. I think Darkrai might be optimal, and I don't think there's a universe that this is, like, U-turn, right? So, like...
No. The other world is he goes Bolt, and he just lets Bolt go here to get Darkrai in for free and click Ice Beam, because at this point, every time Darkrai gets in, it's getting a free click. And it seems to be Spec, so it's going to hurt. That then invites in the Screamtail potentially, which is a little scary.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to what the Screamtail is more than anything, because
yeah, the way that
Speed Boost Calm Mind, like, it's been held in the back.
I imagine it's that if it's getting left around this long, that it's going to be Speed Boost Calm Mind.
Especially,
and it can also, I don't think it would have the move slots for it, but it could also carry Ice Beam and just own the Landorus.
That's the thing I'm thinking is, like, Fire Blast, Dazzling Gleam, Ice Beam.
Yeah,
like,
thinking the same thing. So he does go Darkrai, and it eats the Facade.
Yeah.
So I think, so he gets the Protect for extra, and he gets the Trick. Okay, so that means he can. That's not great. Agency was trying to call out the Screamtail there, which
yeah, that's really bad.
And Gliscor didn't, and I do think that it was good that Nozzer did not reveal Protect until then.
Yeah, that's a really smart.
Because otherwise you have no reason to click that.
Yeah, agreed.
Which this is now quite bad because the Gliscor gets a free Earthquake. And I imagine you would click that over Facade here.
You'd think so, yeah.
So Darkrai does Trick. So
I mean, at this point, you don't really have a choice, right? Like, you have
So now the Gliscor is giving a free Landorus, which is quite good for the Lando.
Yes. Meowscarada.
Because I was going to say, if the Landorus is a poison move, it can just...
Whoa!
So he goes hard Meow, yeah.
Does that make sense, though?
I think he kind of had to, because if it's like sub Landorus, for example, he could just lose the game there if he lets it get a free sub.
Yeah,
but he does have the booster speed Screamtail. So
yeah, I guess if that makes sense, if that's the win con, then the optimal play is to go into Meowscarada because you don't want this thing to set up. But it just seems so crazy to sack it because it looks so good. Like, if you just get a little bit more chip.
Still, I agree that the Meow is good, but the Gliscor still does do solid into Tinkaton and Raging Bolt. Yeah. And I just think it was more so that he didn't want to give the Lando time to do anything.
That makes a lot of sense.
That was a loose one. So we do see the CM come out. as he clicks Sledge Wave.
Yeah.
Screamtail eats it.
Screamtail eats it for sure.
I think it might not have moves for Ice Beam, would be the potential saving grace here. It CMs again, so I'm imagining that it's... I really don't think we'll see a rest come out here, so I'm imagining it has to kill it here, and it does not.
It doesn't have Ice Beam. There you go. Wow.
So now he guaranteed loses the game.
Surely, yeah, right? It can't lock into any one thing.
Yeah, so Nozzer definitely should have clicked Gleam there twice instead of setting up again. But he might have had a different expectation of how much that Lando would have taken.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Agency
sure.
Preserving differential, like a real G right now.
Now we're CMing up. Okay. Okay. Good night, Gliscor.
Good night, Gliscor. That was a great game. Yeah. Oh, and the crit to boot. Yeah, that was really wonderful. Honestly, obviously, like a tough loss for Noz, but like good showing on both sides. I think ultimately, like
I would agree.
I think
only some like small minor misplays, but for the most part, I think both of them played pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the big like games, the big like I guess mood setter at the start of the game, in spite of the freeze, was that like immediate loss on Rhythm Frost. It felt like Noz was playing 5v6 like literally right from the jump.
He was, and he also his gambit didn't really get a lot either, and it was just thrown to the bolt. Like the bolts this game, it claimed those two, and it basically from there, I mean, it also claimed the girder later. So the bolt claimed 3 mons plus 1 at the ends as the extra. So
I would be incredibly curious to know what this King Gambit, like what its intention was. Like, was it rocks? Was it Swords Dance? Like Thunder Wave and a Tera Blast is so interesting. But
yeah, that's what also is like
it's a Tera King Gambit. Surely it has more potential, right? Like
yeah, I don't like that set that much into like Lando and Raging Bolt, because those are guys that can just eat the Thunder Wave and also still like threaten you and like kind of soft check you on a revenge kill. So,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I do imagine the way it was played, maybe it had something for Darkrai, but I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, Specs Darkrai into a King Gambit matchup is bold, and it definitely paid off for Agency in this case. And yeah, the Raging Bolt again proving that it's one of the strongest Tera mons as well. Like really strong lead that like put on a ton of pressure, but then also simultaneously was able to maintain pressure throughout the match. It's pretty cool.
For sure. Yeah, Raging Bolt definitely did most of the leg. But Agency played it very well to get it in a lot and optimize how much damage you get out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that was it. That was a great opener. I mean, between like the hacks and the chat and everything going crazy, I think this sets the tone for the type of stuff we're going to see in DCL. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the commentary and the insight.
It was a good spectate.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned for more DCL games, maybe in some other formats. It'll be cool, including potentially my own coming up against Skyhorse. That's going to be really scary and fun. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Thank you for joining me, Vinny. I really appreciate it.
No problem.